This is Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. In our headlines, Attorney General Godfrey Adame defends his legal opinion that portions of the anti-gay bill may violate fundamental human rights and freedoms of citizens as he makes a belated appearance at the parliamentary committee considering the bill. Now, Majority Leader Oseche Mensah to target the Auditor General for carrying out his mandate in an unconstitutional manner as he advocates a raft of changes to Ghana's constitution. We have details as Parliament marks 30 years of parliamentary democracy, with Speaker of Parliament calling on the country to reflect on why the country has been turned into a duopoly.
We say multi-party democracy. We don't say a duopoly. And so we have to look at how come that we have gone down from multi-party to a duopoly.
Now, Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfrey Adame has defended his opinion on the controversial anti-gay bill, which is currently before Parliament. Now, the Attorney General says portions of the bill, if passed, will violate the fundamental human rights and freedoms of citizens. He also contended in his opinion that there will be considerable implementation challenges if the bill is passed. Mr. Adame appeared before the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee Wednesday. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us with details from that closed-door meeting. Kweku, first, remind us what exactly the legal opinion of the AG was before he made today's appearance.
So, Brace, the Attorney General sent to Parliament an 18-page memorandum on the anti-gay bill that is being sponsored by Sam George and some colleagues of his in Parliament. At the time, his contention was that there are some specific issues that are in this bill that may not stand constitutional muster if it is put before them. He said, for instance, that Chapter 5 of the Constitution guarantees the fundamental human rights and freedoms of every person, and that these rights are expected to be upheld by the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And so, in his opinion, he believed that if this bill in its current form is approved and is passed by Parliament, there are certain specific things that persons who are gays, LGBTQ communities may not be able to do, and this may infringe on their rights. And so, at the time, the sponsors of the bill clearly did not agree. They were very much up in arms against the specific opinion that had been offered by the Attorney General. But today, the Attorney General is standing by this opinion.
What do we understand happened in the committee meeting today?
So the Attorney General was invited to shed more light on this opinion, that 18-page memorandum that he had sent to Parliament. And what we understand is that the Attorney General stood by every specific point that he had made. His opinion was that if Parliament moved through and passed the bill in its current form and these fundamental changes are not made, eventually someone will challenge this in the Supreme Court and it will be struck out as unconstitutional. So he has some specific amendments that he wants to be seen done to this bill before it is passed. But as you may be aware, the sponsors themselves are not so happy about this because they say that if it is passed in its present form, or if it is passed with the amendments that the Attorney General is suggesting, it will defeat the purpose for the bill. And so they have not been so much happy about that. And so Sam George and his co-sponsors and other members of the NDC side who are on the committee clearly disagree with the AG, and they had made so clear at the committee sitting today.
What has been their specific reaction to this, in terms of the sponsors of this bill after this meeting?
So we understand that Sam George and his colleagues are expected to address a news conference tomorrow, but already we are getting some understanding that they are not happy, that the Attorney General insisted on having this meeting. They said once he had sent the memorandum, then that could be enough. You remember that last year they held some public meetings. They expected that the Attorney General would have been present for that. He wasn't. And so they are accusing the Attorney General of stampeding the progress of this bill. It is their opinion that had it not been for these, what they call the late tactics of the Attorney General, they would have passed this bill already, or this year would have made some significant progress in the House. But because of the Attorney General's opinion and his insistence that he must be heard, that bill has been standing still for a while.
Grateful to you, Kweku Asante, is our man in Parliament today. Let's still stay in Parliament because the onslaught on the Auditor General over the performance of his responsibilities has been amplified by Majority Leader Oseche Mensah, who has criticized the Auditor General over how he performs his duties. Only a few weeks ago, the Attorney General, Godfrey Adame, advised the Auditor General to unpublish the COVID-19 audit report, an advice that drew the anger of civil society. But speaking at an event to mark 30 years of parliamentary democracy, the majority leader said the Auditor General is a tool for Parliament and should not be leaking reports to the public. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kojo Asante has more.
Parliamentary democracy in Ghana is 30 years. Majority Leader said Chairman Sabonsu has a number of suggestions for constitutional changes.
It is time to re-engineer our constitutional architecture to conform to today's realities. We need a constitutional order that frowns upon winner-takes-all syndrome, a new constitutional order that will ensure gender equity and, in many respects, equality. We need a new constitutional order that will prevent the constant increase in the number of seats in Parliament. We need a new constitutional order that will put a cap in the number of ministers of state. A new order that will ensure that the Speaker of Parliament is a serving member of Parliament. A new constitutional order where the Auditor General will respect the fact that he is a tool for Parliament in the performance of its functions, the oversight functions, and therefore cannot unilaterally exact and prosecute surcharges, and even before submitting his report to Parliament, find a way to leak the recommendations to the general public.
For his part, Minority Leader Dr. Kisela Tuforse tasked MPs to be mindful of the current economic challenges and work on both sides to alleviate the plight of Ghanaians.
Let us be mindful of our current economic challenges and work towards a common goal to address what is before us. Nobody can benefit when the economy collapses. We cannot also sit unconcerned. Mr. Speaker, we can also not underestimate the reaction of our people.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin outlined some legacy projects Parliament intends to undertake.
A few legacy products or projects have also been planned, such as cutting the sword for the building of what we are describing as Democracy House.
He has also been warning that Ghana's democracy seems to have been taken over by the NDC and NPP.
To the fact that Ghana has had 8 successive elections and 4 government changeovers between 2 major political parties. We say multi-party democracy. We don't say a duopoly. And so we have to look at how come that we have gone down from multi-party to a duopoly. We have to look at it.
Ghana's parliamentary democracy is 30 years. That judgment as to whether it has served your needs and your aspirations is yours to make. But the civil society organizations who spoke at this event today in Parliament say that Parliament could do more to achieve the kind of things the ordinary Ghanaian wants to see being done here in Parliament. With this hung Parliament, there are those who expect Parliament to be able to hold government, the executive branch, to account. There are those who say Parliament has done so very well. There are those who say that Parliament could do more. Reporting for Joy News, Kojo Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Now, there's an increase in the number of arms in Ghana. Currently, about 2.3 million guns are in rotation, a significant increase from the 1.1 million reported by the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons some years ago. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of a dialogue on preventing and containing violent extremism, Deputy Programs Head at Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, Efua Lamte, said there is the need to provide the youth with alternative livelihoods to prevent them from being enticed by extremists.
So currently, going by the 2014 Small Arms Survey statistics, there are about 2.3 million arms in circulation now. And with the terrorist threats in the region, the West African sub-region, it's quite worrying that if people get access to these arms, they can use them to inflict pain, fear, and panic in society. So it's important that we do all we can to regulate and retrieve these arms. And some of the reasons why people get these arms is to protect themselves, is to protect their property and their families. And so if the state is seen as not being able to protect them, then they have the recourse to these arms. So we must also ensure that we have other opportunities, particularly for the youth who are really a vulnerable group for recruiting into violent extremist networks, so that they get some kind of livelihood support and they are not easily lured into violent extremist activities.
Now, Chairman of the National Commission for Civic Education, Kathleen Addy, also reviewed that threat at the northernmost borders have grown over the time and that some form of education for citizens to identify those threats is required.
Because the person who is going to bring the threat will not bring a bag that says this is a bomb and put it down. You know, you must have a way of identifying what you need to do and then if you even identify something, who do you go and tell? When do you go and tell the person? How do you know that you'll be secure after speaking to somebody? So I think everybody knows that saying about when your neighbor's beard is on fire. As we sit here, literally, our neighbor's beard is on fire. I mean that in the literal sense of the word, because the place, it is on fire, you know. So it's just a matter of preparing yourself. Preparation helps you to deal with eventualities. You must be prepared. And so it's the preparation that we want to ensure that, because you see, the thing about the situation we are facing is that these people who are coming to do you harm are not going to march into your community with a big gun and create a ruckus. No, they understand, as we do in NCC, that the battle is actually for the hearts and minds of people, and so they come for that, you know. And that is the place that we are meeting them at. They come, they radicalize young people. They start with gifts, they start with, you know, some services for the community and this and that. The next thing you know, they form clubs of young people. The next thing you know, they are teaching them and training them on one thing or the other. The next thing you know, your own young people in your community have turned against you. So these are not people who are just coming to make a big ruckus.
Now, spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Arimi Al-Shaibu, is calling on the government to stop the use of force and governmental imposition in an attempt to solve the Boko conflict.
I think that matters of chieftaincy are rooted or are founded on the foundation of tradition and culture and history. And so sometimes, in my view, we should create opportunity for those who are very conversant with this tradition, the history and the culture to come in as, if you like, the non-formal approach to dealing with matters which sometimes use of governmental enforcement may not be able to solve. And my hope is that where we are, government will look at the best way and put together this idea of eminent chiefs who probably their weight and eminence may give them the opportunity to be able to bring some solution to the problem. They may not be able to solve it immediately, but at least where we are, what we are interested in now is to silence the gun.
To other stories now, former President John Dramani Mahama has picked nomination forms for the upcoming National Democratic Congress flag bearership race. This follows his declaration of intention to contest the elections to the Minority Caucus on Tuesday during a visit to his residence. John Dramani Mahama, the flag bearer of the party for the 2020 presidential elections, is touted by many as the best man to lead the party. Professor Joshua Alabi, a former campaigns manager of the party and the leader of the delegation to pick the forms for John Mahama, believes he stands tall among all the other candidates and must be given the nod to lead the party into the 2024 general elections.
Ghanaians are not only asking for the NDC to come back, but they are asking for a well-experienced leader. In this game, the current economic crisis in this country, leadership counts. Two keywords, leadership counts. And if leadership counts, then experience is the key. One who has done it before, and one who is very humble, one who shows love to the people, and one who believes in people-centered policies. Fortunate for us in the NDC and the country as a whole, we have somebody like that. And we can't afford to allow him to sit down whilst we have a very huge challenge, tax to servant. So we are here to pick his form and to work for him. Working for him is not only working for him, but working for the National Democratic Congress and working for the people of Ghana.
Chairman of the NDC's Elections Committee, Kakra Isamoah, charged former President John Mahama to do his best to liberate Ghana of the current economic hardships.
To liberate this country from the overpowering stench of uselessness in the Jubilee House. I'm very happy that you are here. You have a very heavy duty because removing a tyrant is an extremely frightening job. But you said you'll do it. We trust you. You are part of us. We know you're also suffering. So we know that you do your best for all the people of Ghana, including ourselves. I take it that you know what it means to be president of Ghana in these very sorry times.
Dean of Regional Chairman of the NDC, John Kojo Japan, says John Mahama has the full support of all regional chairmen.
Come and take your people out of this mess, this economic mess, and that is why he asked him to stay for some time. And he stayed. Very healthy, very strong, a young man, dynamic, very experienced, and can do anything to bring Ghana back to where it belongs.
You are the Dean of the Regional Chairman.
Yes.
Do we take it that all the regional chairmen in Ghana are for JM?
For goodness sake, all my regional chairmen, all the regional chairmen for National Democratic Congress, from Upper East to Western North, each of them, I say, each of them in their own capacity, as whether Big Edu, as whether Musa, as whether Nanatoku, as whether Big Edu, as whether Ashimo or whatever, as John Kojo Japan, as Ababito support John Dramani Mahama. And almost all of them are here. But for 2-3 people who ask permission for other reasons why they are not here, all of us, and take it from me as a Dean, all of them. And I can tell you, even the whole country, almost all the constituency chairmen, you won't get 2 or 3 that will go against John Dramani Mahama. No. In NDC, we respect hard work.
On Monday, Okada riders went to his office to declare their unflinching support for his candidature and made monetary contribution towards the purchase of his farms. For Joy News, Samuel Kojo Brace at Dabraka. Well, he's indecisive and has nothing new to offer. These are the words of the governing NPP as former President John Mahama makes public his intention to contest the 2024 elections after picking forms for his party's flag bearership race. Speaking at a press conference at the party's headquarters, Director of Communications Richard Anyagba said the NPP will win the general elections because the party is a better manager of the economy.
We defeated him twice. Well, you should conclude. This is a mathematical situation. We defeated a person twice. So is that suggesting that we are afraid of him? No. That's it. We're not afraid of Mahama. In fact, he is afraid because he can't tell whether he's going to run or not. And I was telling you, a couple of days ago, he was asked if he was going to run. He said, you don't know, you never know what would happen. I mean, if you want to contest, you know you contest. We are ready for him. We are interested at this point in how we can build the economy. What we are interested in is whether or not he has a solution. Because we saw him vanquish gains that he got. We saw him collapse our economy. We saw him collapse our banking sector. We saw him cause Ghanaians to live in absolute difficulty in this country without electricity. It was an economic situation, he couldn't manage it. If he's coming, we want to interrogate. That was why we're emphasizing for you that hold everybody to the fact. What is his proposition? What is he bringing? We want to know. You force that conversation to happen. So far, I don't see that. We're allowing the NDC just hide behind the difficulty, which difficulty we have explained to you come about because of the COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war. They are denying that. You are allowing them to get away with it. We want you to hold them accountable, because all of us have equal stake in this matter. If Ghana is not doing well, both of us, all of us are not doing well. So if they want power, they must show us why they want power. And why you want power is what ideas you have to build this economy. So if anything at all, he is afraid because we don't think that he has the solutions for this economy. And he can't do it. Because if he would have done it, if he had what it took, he wouldn't have taken an economy growing and vanquish it and take it to IMF. That is the crux of the matter. If he has a solution, he should bring it. That's what we're waiting for. If he tries to come, if he gets the confidence, he masters the confidence to come, I tell you, with the support of Ghanaians in building this economy back and forcing him to tell us, what is it? Remember the last time he tried, he said one of his ideas was to legalize Okada, right? And between you and I, if that is the option he has, we want to see what he's bringing. Those ideas, those visions that he has, which vanquish this economy, we want them to come and repeat it. He has nothing new. That's our belief. But if you help us, as the fourth estate of the realm, if you can force the conversation to be had in this country about solution, about what the NDC has, not about what is happening in the country. Yes, what is happening, and what is your response to it? If we force that conversation, the NDC will lose any day. And you know, the electoral numbers, NDC has not won comfortably in this country. They always, if they do, win by the skin of their teeth. And we are confident that if we do this based on issue, the NDC any day will lose to the MPP. With all humility, we understand that our party, our orientation is what prevails around the world. Their social democratic proposition is losing ground. There's nowhere in the economy where you see a booming social proposition as the NDC would like us to have. They only can flourish if there are grants around the world coming to help them. But we are able on our own, generate and build an economy. That's what we have done we've done until COVID came in. So we're saying that if you can help the situation, can help Ghanaians engage in a constructive conversation about ideas, the NDC will lose any day.
He says the MPP has dealt with the depreciation of the Ghana cedi, inflation and others better than the NDC.
Don't support that. So the management of the economy under NDC, we're looking at monetary sector development. We talk a lot about inflation, they talk a lot about exchange rate depreciation, they talk a lot about prime rates and the rest. We're looking at depreciation under the NDC. In 2013, the cedi depreciated 14.5%. In 2014, there was a huge spike, about 31.3% our currency depreciated. That led them to go to the IMF, and under the IMF program, the cedi further depreciated by 16%. In 2016, it went down again by 10%. Performance under the NDC, monetary sector development, we're looking at inflation at this point. In 2013, inflation stood at 13.5% when former President Mahama took over from himself. In 2014, it went to 17%. It increased. In 2015, it went to 17.7%. And in 2016, it stood at 15.4%. And this year, you look at the effect of the IMF program. So year on year, inflation, if you show the graph, it shows that the NDC is actually increasing inflation, because if you saw, they took from 13.5, they never reduced it. They would like to tell you about some days under former President Mills, a few years under him, to say that they had a single-digit inflation. This year is their number. I don't see any single-digit inflation here. It was 13.5, 17%, 17.7%, and 15.4%. They should, when they tell you about single-digit inflation, show them this, that this number exists. They should refer to this one too. Economic performance under the NDC, monetary sector development policy rate. And this is the rate that the Bank of Ghana borrows, or banks lend money from the Bank of Ghana. So it's the key indicator of the price of money. And in 2013, when former John Dramani Mahama took office, a period where everything should be fine. There was no disruption in the economic environment. He likes to go and talk about some China slowdown in production in China. That has nothing to do with us. Has nothing absolutely to do with us, but that's what he likes to use to explain their underperformance.
Now, the National Health Insurance Authority is exploring measures to improve healthcare delivery in Ghana. According to Chief Executive of the NHIA, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, there is the need to implement a value-based care system rather than the current one, which is focused on volumes. He made these comments at the opening of a 5-day workshop organized by Farm Access Foundation and partners in developing and piloting a value-based care model for Ghana. There's more in the following report.
The National Health Insurance Scheme was established in 2004 in a bid to achieve universal health care. The scheme aims to provide all citizens with equitable access to basic health care. It has faced a number of challenges that have hampered the needed health care delivery. Farm Access and its partners, Leapfrog to Value and the Christian Health Association of Ghana, are working with the National Health Insurance Authority to develop and pilot a new value-based care model. Speaking on the sidelines of a workshop in Accra, the Chief Executive of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, said value-based care is a panacea to the provision of better health care.
The National Health Insurance Authority is now going towards electronic management of its claims process. And this electronic management or digitized process allows us now to consolidate and crystallize all the information we have about Ghanaians who attend hospitals. And that is where value-based care comes in. So that if, let's say, 2 conditions account for 80% of all hospital attendance, it will be in the interest of this country, based on the data we have, to do something about these 2 conditions. And value-based care allows you to invest in interventions that would even prevent people from presenting with these conditions.
The current insurance system rewards the value of healthcare delivered rather than quality outcomes. The reverse, according to the Executive Director of the Christian Health Association of Ghana, will reduce the burden on the scheme in paying claims.
It is the intent of the government and indeed the entire society to ensure that everyone living in the country will have access to quality healthcare, the highest attainable healthcare, timely, without any financial barrier or restriction. If that is the case, that anyone living in the remote segment of the country will have the same level of care as in Accra and the rest, what it means that we must ensure value. There is a risk of looking at quantity, looking at volume of health.
The implementation of value-based care will align patients, payers and providers to achieve outcomes that matter to patients at an optimal cost. Dr. Gifty Sunkwa-Mills is the operations manager for Farm Access in Ghana.
We walk to a typical hospital on a Monday morning. You see the OPD full of patients. Doctor comes and wants to see the patients very quickly. And the system will pay according to the number of patients that have been seen, not necessarily the outcome of their conditions. But now we want to take it to a different level. We want to make sure that each patient sitting here has a very good quality of care and in a cost-efficient way. So whatever money we're investing into healthcare, we want to ensure that we see the results. So the outcome is very important to us. Clinical outcome, as I've said, the quality of life that the patient has, and then the patient's experience of care.
The 5-day workshop on value-based care is expected to assist critical decision-making as well as policy formulation in a bid to improve healthcare delivery in Ghana.
Now, the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council and the Ministry of Education have received an investigative report on the disturbances at the Krobia Asante Technical and Vocational Institute. Details of the report are yet to be made public, but it is expected to help establish the cause of the students' riot and also put a cause to damage caused on the campus as a result of the rampage. Already, 43 students of the school are standing in court for the destruction of public and private property on the campus. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Students of Krobia Asante Technical and Vocational Institute went on rampage last month, destroying some school and private property, including 5 vehicles. The principal's bungalow was the prime target. The students destroyed and looted some food items supplied to the school. Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah spoke about the committee's work when he visited the school after students' routing.
We've not concluded on the terms of reference, but definitely one will be to establish the cause of the demonstration. Why did they demonstrate? What are the reasons?
The 5-member committee, chaired by Justice Samuel Obindiewu, a justice of the Court of Appeal, was set up to investigate the incident and make recommendations. Committee members included Right Reverend Nu Ben Abubakar, retired Methodist Bishop, Mr. David Edu Osei, retired Regional Commander of the NIB, and Mr. Richard Adojemfi, acting Ashanti Regional Director, Ghana TVET Service. Former Principal of the Kumasi Technical Institute, Dr. Abeku Apri, also served on the committee. Aside from establishing the cause of the rioting and cost to damaged property, the committee was mandated to give recommendations towards ensuring such incidents do not reoccur. The committee was given 2 weeks to investigate the matter, but exceeded the time. At least 30 people were interviewed. Mr. Osei-Mensah, who received the committee's report, said the report will be studied, after which the needed decision will be taken.
I, for instance, was sure we won't be able to fail to do this because some of the people you may need or you needed to come were outside our delegation or were outside the remit of the regular coordinating council. And since they will preach on their own, maybe the time that you need them to give from this certain report might not happen, might delay, and this will delay your work. But within all these challenges, we'll be able to do that. Excellent, but even though I've not gone through it, and I know you all, and I know your capacities, and I know you deliver in fairness and with utmost professionalism. I know this is going to help us to solve the problem.
The minister has already indicated students will be surcharged for the cost of damage caused. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
That's what you Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has disputed claims that all vehicles under the bus rapid transport operations have been grounded. Managers say 33 of the buses are currently working, with 21 grounded. Out of the 60 buses received, 5 got bent completely on suspected arson, and 1 had an accident which is beyond repairs. Branch manager for BRT Ayalolo, Samson Edulabi, says most of the grounded buses were brought from Accra with minor fault, which demanded the attention of the supplier.
In 2018, 3 of the BRT buses were brought to Kumasi for piloting. Later in the year, additional 57 buses were supplied. Managers say Kumasi was not part of the initial plan of the bus rapid transport, hence the challenges in management. Access to parking spaces for the buses and a terminal at the Central Business District for boarding became a major hindrance. Amidst the difficulties, STC Ghana granted them a temporary parking space at their Oforikrom yard. Kumasi branch manager of the BRT Ayalolo, Samson Edulabi, says competing with other commercial vehicles has been challenging, but the company is successfully managing 33 of the buses in Greater Kumasi.
Kumasi system, the movement is during the peak hours. And when I say peak hours, that is the time that there are more people coming to the city and the time that there are more people going outside the city. So we decided to operate during the mornings and in the evenings, where we could commute the riders from their homes to the business center and in the evening take them to their various homes. Again, management thought of it wise to increase our operational routes, and because of that we spoke to some institutions like the private schools and even the some of the organized universities, and then institutions like Ashfoam, the organized companies, and we do transport their staff to work and then also when they close. So because of the fact that we do not have dedicated parking spaces in the CBD, that is the main city, when we render these services, the buses are brought back to this yard here that you can see the buses there. So we park waiting for the evening service when they go.
Kumasi Mayor Samuel Pine says the BRT is expecting World Bank support to get a dedicated route for the buses, including a terminal at Sokobane to operate fully in Greater Kumasi.
The place that they took the video is actually where we park our vehicle, the buses. And that place belongs to the STC. Now, we've had discussions with them on countless occasions on even developing the place for the buses to park, but they keep on giving the excuse that it's not part of their development plan, and therefore we had to make use with whatever that we have. So we're having a program with the World Bank in terms of building the bus rapid transit system here. And we had about 3-4 technical discussions with the World Bank representatives came from America and the African reps and the Ghana reps. Next week, we have discussions with them. They were looking for some letters and some documentation to bring us early support, and we provided it all to them last week. So definitely, if we're able to access that facility, we're going to improve the road infrastructure, another thing that will make it appropriate for the buses to run as a mass transit bus system.
Meanwhile, there are no plans of getting the 21 grounded buses back on the roads. Some of their tires and parts were removed. The initiators of the BRT in Ghana failed to train mechanics to fix faulty buses. Mr. Edulabi says the Scania company is expected to help fix the faulty buses. He also seeks the permit of the Transport Ministry to auction the bent buses.
The bent buses is occupying the very limited space already we have here. So we have written to the ministry to give us permission to be able to dispose them of through public auction so that we can get that additional space and park our buses. So we are calling on the ministry to help us. Because as you can see, we have a very limited space so that we can get more space to park our buses.
For Joy News, Euku Malik's report read to you.
Now, a Center for Social Impact Studies research has revealed that many inhabitants in communities affected by mining are losing land, cultural sites and identities and social ties due to resettlement by companies. The report also found indications of nefty and unfulfilled promises, involuntary displacement, and little or no resettlement support systems for victims. It became evident that most residents around mineral-rich areas in Obuasi are unaware of applicable laws governing resettlement and compensation. A development, according to the report, is adversely affecting their engagement with mining companies. Clinton Yabua has more in the following report.
This was revealed at the launch of a new research on community experiences of mining-induced compensation and resettlement in the Ahafo and Adansi district by the Center for Social Impact Studies, CESIS. The report by CESIS is expected to raise awareness and sensitize affected residents in their settlement and compensation processes. Indigents affected by large-scale mining usually complain they have been shortchanged because they have no or little capacity to negotiate with multinational companies. Executive Director for CESIS, Robert Ali Tanti, believes the report will guide residents in mining communities to seek redress in settlement and compensation issues. He wants government to offer help to affected communities through policies and regulations.
Communities are not abreast with the law. Some of them don't even know. We ask them a simple question: do you know any law on compensation and resettlement? They don't. We ask them whether they know the Act 703, which is specifically on mining and minerals. No. The LI 2175, which is on compensation and resettlement, they don't know. And so what I will advise is that they need to build their capacity. You know, when you are going to the table for negotiation, you must know the law. And that is what we are going to do. We believe in constructive dialogue. We believe that the community should sit down, channel their grievances through the appropriate institutions. Okay, so I'm calling on NCC, I'm calling on the state institutions to make that intention to educate people in mining communities. They must understand. And once they understand, they will use the law. And then also, when there are those conflicts, you see that the state is always on the other side. We want to call fall on the state. When there are those issues, they shouldn't be. Yeah, they say they are protecting the mine. Yes, government has a share. Government has a 10% carryover interest in the mines, but the citizens too must be protected.
Some beneficiaries said they have been enlightened about the intricacies of protecting their resources.
Say no, we be and obi be susu efu na obi be asase so be ye adwuma a me ahunim dia say kasa ene ne wo mbe kasa say be ya wontumi sisi yen betumi de nokore be bia nokore da be betumi de ato wontumi mu ye kwasea.
Now, Chief Justice Kwesi Anini-Yeboah says his office remains resolute in ensuring justice is accessible at the doorstep of every Ghanaian in a timely and effective manner. According to him, the poor state of fiscal infrastructure that bedeviled various courts over the years militated against their effectiveness in the delivery of justice. Hence, the resolve to improve them. There's more in the following report.
Justice Anini-Yeboah commended the judiciary for their indispensable contributions to the country's robust constitutional democracy and the rule of law, as well as the maintenance of peace and stability. This, according to him, has contributed to Ghana being ranked the second most peaceful country in Africa in the latest Global Peace Index ratings. Whilst calling for the support of all in safeguarding the peace and maintenance of rule of law, the Chief Justice said this explains the renewed drive of revamping old and building of new courts. The new courts, he noted, are in fulfillment of his vision to bring justice to the doorsteps of the people and to assure litigants of quality and timely service delivery.
Our gathering here today is in fulfillment of the mandate of the judiciary and the judicial service of Ghana to ensure access to justice to the people of Asante Achim South. It is also part of efforts to deal with the lack and the distressingly poor state of our physical infrastructure, which have over the years militated against the effective operation of the courts generally. The working environment of the courts must not only be conducive to productivity, but also reflect the authority and dignity of the judiciary. Indeed, the indispensable contributions of the judiciary to the country's robust constitutional democracy, the culture of rule of law, as well as the maintenance of peace and stability cannot be overemphasized. No doubt, we pride ourselves on Ghana's ranking currently as the second on the Peace Index in Africa. The inauguration of this courthouse, which has been designated as a circuit court, is in fulfillment of our vision to bring justice to the doorstep of the people of Asante Achim South.
Justice Anini-Yeboah was speaking at the inauguration of the Jaso and Pompata Circuit and District Courts, respectively, in the Ashanti region. The new courts come with residential accommodation for judges and magistrates. Justice Anini-Yeboah commended President Akufo-Addo and the Ministry of Local Government for paying attention to the infrastructural deficits of the judiciary. Meanwhile, the Municipal Chief Executive for Asante Achim South, Alexander Frimpong, says the inaugurated courts will help promote the rule of law and peaceful coexistence.
What it means to us is that courts and judicial service staff will have a place that is very convenient for them to work. And we expect that matters of justice will be fairly executed. And so as a municipality, we are so happy. It will be easy for the police and the prosecutors, and then for all our citizenry to access both the district court and the circuit court.
You're so watching Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with Showbiz. Stay with us. Well, welcome back. Time for us to bring you Showbiz. And Becky Bex is here. Looking dashy. Hi, how are you doing?
Hello to you, Brace. How you doing? So we're continuing our USA series of E-Vibes. And the person we have showing this weekend is Prince Bright, a member of Bookback, Ronnie is late. So I had a very long conversation. It's actually in 3 parts, people. This interview is actually in 3 parts. Prince has been talking about how, obviously, he's not stopping music anytime soon, and also how he owes it to Ronnie to continue this music business. But let's talk about Kofi Kinata.
Hey, if you come away, I say.
So today he posted a photo, on Instagram, obviously on his social media pages. So I reached out to him. I said, Kofi, what are you up to? This is like a whole new look for Kofi Kinata. We haven't really seen him like that before, but he says that he's out of the country. He's working on new music. And he is promising a new album. You know, he doesn't have an album. And the question keeps coming in, Kofi, when is your album coming in? He's always dropping singles. And it's the same thing that he said, but he's working on new music, and we're all up for it, Brace. I don't know what you're expecting on say this album. He's churned out a lot of songs.
I'm expecting something good. You know, anytime he drops something,
right,
you have all the age bracket loving it because there's sense in his music. It's music that keeps you going. And look, Kofi or the fancy people with
but those pictures are amazing.
Sweet,
Keep it coming.
Charlie, it's like his latest music where he's talking about Scafan Bantam. Charlie, Kofi and that picture with the Scafan Bantam.
Kofi is Scafan now. Let's move away from that. Let's talk about Christian Achu. You know, the whole world has been paying the tributes to him. We've been remembering him. We were celebrating him. And we have a few of musicians also adding their voice to, you know, this whole sad incident. They've been remembering Christian Achu.
Oh, I was very sad. It's a really sad news, and I'm very sorry for his family. I can't imagine what they are going through right now. So my deepest condolences to his family. Yeah, and may his soul rest in peace.
I mean, we're in it together, so to his family, I mean, may the Lord be with them. It's just sad.
Very sad, and we are obviously all here very sad about the incident. The tributes keep pouring in. A lot of people are, you know, paying their tributes. So you should, if you have the chance, you should also go and pay your tributes to the late legendary footballer Christian Achu. Let's talk about Ochiame Kwame's Love concert. Well, he actually held the program came off at the Plus 233 Jazz Bar, and obviously my colleague
IB.
IB didn't go this time.
Okay.
It's actually Nicholas Yamwa who came through with this report.
Valentine's Day came on February 14, and people all over the world used the day to show their love and make special memories with presents and trips. Though many celebrations of love were held before and even on Valentine's Day, some of them still happened after Valentine's Day. One of such events is the Love Locked Down concert, headlined by award-winning rapper Ochiame Kwame, which took place at the Plus 233 Jazz Bar and Grill. Fans enjoyed performances from Ms. V, Sina Soul, Kwame Eugene, Efriye Wuta, and Vanilla. Musicians who performed on the night shared their experiences.
I felt like a lot of work, a lot of rehearsals went into it. So yeah, a lot of time. It was fun. I always have fun performing, so this was no different. It was fun.
He's a legend that, I mean, we've been around listening to him for a very long time now. And since he's doing something amazing like this, it is just best for like a young one like this, studying him and learning the steps to pull up and put a surprise on him like I did, and I'm glad everyone here enjoyed it.
Ochiame Kwame explained the inspiration behind the Love Locked Down concert.
Previously, we used to do Flaunt Your Lover, but I wrote a book. Called Love Lockdown. 2 books, actually.
Well, Brace, that'll be all for Showbiz here on Prime. Joy News Prime. Yeah. But before we go, remember to brush your teeth before you go to bed this evening. And also tomorrow morning when you wake up, brush your teeth with...
Now, brush your teeth with either Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Pepsodent Charcoal, Pepsodent Herbal, or Pepsodent Triple Protection. Because with Pepsodent, every smile matters. Yeah, sure that 32 here. Okay, so that's how we wrap up the bulletin. Remember, there's more news on myjoyonline.com. Grateful for your company. Coming up next is Prime Business with Beverly Broom. Good evening.